You ever get the feeling that your home isn't really your home anymore? Like someone else is calling the shots and you're just existing there? Yeah, welcome to the story of a college senior who thought she knew what shared space meant, until her roommate's boyfriend decided to move in without asking. This isn't just about dishes in the sink or leaving socks on the floor. It's about boundaries, respect, and the moment you realize you're not being unreasonable. You're just being ignored. Let's dive into one of the most debated AITA posts in recent memory. This is AITA Stories, where real people share their messiest moments, and we figure out what the heck went wrong. Our story begins with a 21-year-old senior in college. She lives off campus in a 4-bedroom, 2-bath apartment with 3 other roommates. The place is nothing special, standard college living, but it's her peace, her final sanctuary before real adulthood begins. One of her roommates, a 22-year-old junior we'll call Becca, has a boyfriend. Let's name him Zach. Zach does not live there. Or, well, he didn't live there. Not at first. In the beginning, he was just visiting a few nights a week. He'd crash on Becca's bed. No big deal. No one really cared. They all had lives and studies and internships, and they understood what it meant to be in your early 20s and in love. But over time, Zach's presence became constant. He was there every single day. Morning, afternoon, evening. You'd hear his voice in the kitchen, his footsteps in the hall, his belongings in the shared spaces. It wasn't just sleepovers anymore. It was meals, showers, laundry, groceries, using utilities, making coffee and leaving the pot on, watching TV like he paid rent. And the kicker? He wasn't paying rent at all. Not a dime. The poster, let's call her Jenna, did what many of us do when we're trying to keep the peace. She ignored it at first. She told herself it was temporary. She hoped Becca would get the hint, or at least bring it up to the rest of them. But Becca never said a word. Weeks went by, then months. Zach was now using their laundry machine, eating the food people bought, and even walking around shirtless like he signed the lease. The final straw? Jenna had been planning a quiet weekend to prepare for a major final exam. She walked into the living room to find Zach and Becca sprawled across the couch, blasting a show, eating chips, and giving zero acknowledgement that they were occupying shared space during finals week. That was it. She pulled Becca aside, politely but firmly, and said, "Zach shouldn't be here every day. He's not on the lease. He doesn't contribute. It's not fair to the rest of us." Becca? Well, Becca lost it. She accused Jenna of being controlling, said she had no right to dictate who she could have over, claimed it was just like having a friend visit, and that she and Zach were practically a package deal. And then came the classic line, "If you were a good friend, you'd be happy for me." Jenna's other 2 roommates stayed quiet, neutral. One of them even shrugged and said, "Yeah, it's annoying, but I don't want to cause drama." So Jenna did the only thing left she could do. She emailed their landlord. She explained the situation. An unauthorized guest was effectively living there full time. The landlord wasn't amused. Turns out, per the lease, no guest could stay longer than 10 consecutive days within any 30-day period. Zach was in clear violation. The landlord warned Becca, either Zach leaves or the entire unit would face lease penalties. Now Becca is furious. She's calling Jenna a snitch, saying she overreacted and that she just ruined their relationship. Zach, by the way, now refuses to even look Jenna in the eye when he passes her in the hallway, and the roommates, still silent. So, Jenna came to Reddit. Was I the asshole for reporting my roommate's boyfriend to the landlord? Or did I just finally enforce the boundaries no one else would? Let's break this down. First, let's talk about shared living. When you sign a lease with roommates, you're entering into a social contract. It's not just about rent, it's about cohabitation. That includes respecting shared spaces, utilities, and above all, each other's peace. Nowhere in that agreement does it say, unlimited live-in boyfriend included. Zach wasn't a guest, he was a squatter with benefits. He was living there without paying a cent, eating food, using water, adding wear to utilities, occupying space in a home he didn't legally belong to. Would you let someone move into your apartment without permission and just treat it like their own? Didn't think so. Now, to Becca's defense, maybe she didn't realize how disruptive it was. Maybe love blinded her, but here's where things turned sour. When Jenna finally spoke up, after months of patience, Becca didn't apologize. She didn't offer a compromise. She attacked. And instead of saying, I hear you, she went full gaslight mode. You should be happy for me. Nope. Being in love does not entitle you to trample over your roommates. Jenna, at this point, did what many of us would be too afraid to do. She stood up for herself. And not just herself, but for the integrity of the living space that everyone was paying for. Now, let's take a second to think about the bystanders, the two roommates who stayed silent. This is such a common dynamic in shared housing. One person causes the problem. One person speaks up. Everyone else hides behind neutrality. But silence is a choice. When no one backs you up, it can feel like betrayal. So Jenna was left to be the villain for doing what everyone wanted but didn't have the guts to say. She became the bad guy for defending the rules they all agreed to. But here's the real kicker. This story isn't just about roommates. It's about boundaries. It's about learning, as a young adult, that being kind doesn't mean being a doormat. It's about the fact that sometimes doing the right thing will make people hate you. That's a hard pill to swallow, especially in college, where social harmony often feels more important than personal comfort. But guess what? Respect doesn't always come from being nice. Sometimes it comes from being firm, from drawing the line, from saying, this is my home too. And if people don't like that, they were never really your friends to begin with. Now I know some folks might say, she should have talked to Becca again instead of going to the landlord. Sure, maybe one more convo could have helped. But how many chances do you give before you realize someone isn't listening? Becca had every opportunity to fix it. She chose not to, and the landlord? They weren't mad, Jenna reported it. They were mad the lease was being violated. This isn't high school drama. This is legal. At the end of the day, Jenna protected herself. She protected her home. And most importantly, she grew a backbone. That's growth. That's real-world adulting. So what do you think? Was she justified? Should she have let love win and just waited until graduation? Or did Becca need the wake-up call? Let's talk about it in the comments. And if you've ever dealt with a roommate from hell, drop your story below. Trust me, you're not alone. Final thoughts? This story hit home for me because I've been Jenna. I've been the one to finally speak up after months of silence. And let me tell you, it's lonely, but it's worth it. Because when you protect your boundaries, you protect your peace. And peace? Peace is priceless. Thanks for listening to AITA Stories. Until next time, choose courage over comfort, always.